Is practice of yogasanas important, or is it merely yoga of the mind? Now here, the science of yoga says that without a healthy body, you cannot have a healthy mind. So therefore, to keep the body in good health, the practice of asanas is important. Now the Yoga Sutras define yoga as Ashtanga Yoga, or 8 steps, 8 branches, yoga of 8 branches. So let's examine one by one to see where physical exercise and asana come into the picture. The first 2, yama and niyama, are the 2 principles to be followed as much as you can to move forward in yoga. They're not a practice, they're something to be practiced as a daily habit to bring about good habits, which means to eliminate negative habits and bring about positive habits. Habits which are conduce you to your movement towards a calm mind. That's what it means. Like, you have to change your lifestyle. So, you can't say every day I will sit in the bar and drink for till late 12 o'clock and then practice yoga, and not possible. So there is a moderation. The best definition of yama niyamas, rules and regulations, first 2 branches of yoga is moderation in everything. Moderation in eating, moderation in drinking, moderation in sleeping, moderation in entertainment. You can watch TV, but not the whole night. Gita, Krishna describes yama niyamas very nicely by saying, this yoga is not for him who eats too much, or eats too little, or sleeps too much, or sleeps too little. But this kind of, which means moderation is the key. These are the first 2 principles in yoga. The next is, of course, asana. So what is the importance of asanas? You would say asanas are postures. Asanas doesn't mean that you should stand on your head for an hour and shake your legs in the sky. In fact, Patanjali describes asanas as Thirasukam asana. That posture, which you can maintain comfortably for a length of time, becomes your favorite asana. So is asana merely physical exercise or something more? This is what we need to discuss before we go further. Asana is not merely physical exercise. If you need only merely physical exercise, you can do other exercises. There are so many gym exercises, building your muscles. I'm not saying you shouldn't be doing that, but yoga asanas are not meant only to build your muscles or to build a big chest and a narrow waist so that your kidneys are squeezed out of shape or anything of this kind. Yoga is generally meant to keep the body fit, supple, and sensitive. Also, if it's a physical exercise, it is also connected to the mind. How? We know today, modern science has showed us, that hormones play a great part in our life. Our moods are governed by what kind of hormones are pumped into the bloodstream. If adrenaline is suddenly pumped into the bloodstream, you become a very angry person. If dopamine or serotonin is pumped into the bloodstream, not by us, but by internal organs, then you become calm and meditative and you enjoy. Yoga says that through certain physical practices, you can improve the hormone ratio in your bloodstream. So it deals with the endocrine gland system, not only the muscles and the body, but also the endocrine system. You know that the master gland in the human body is the pituitary gland. It controls many functions. The pituitary and the pineal, for instance. Okay. 80 years ago, people thought that this little organ called the pineal gland, which is part of the ductless endocrine system, was a vestige organ. 60 years ago, they discovered that it is a very important. So what does it do? It contains a chemical or a hormone called melatonin. When melatonin is pumped into the system, then you fall asleep. If it is disturbed, you cannot sleep. This is jet lag. When the ratio, it's called, the scientists call it the circadian rhythm, the rhythm of sleep and waking, controlled by this little thing called the pineal gland. So what happens when you do, I'm just giving you an example, can't go into the whole thing. Suppose I do Shirsasana or Sarvangasana. Lot of blood circulates in this area. So all the organs and glands which are situated in that area, they are flushed with blood. So what happens? Their function improves. It's the same with all the other glands in the system. So yoga is not only physical exercise, it is to do with how to bring about an altered state of mind. Physical health, of course. I'm 70 years old now. I have a grey hair and grey beard because I decided long ago better to die than to die. That's why. Otherwise, in other matters, my body is probably as fit as you. If you want me to, you might defeat me eventually. What is the secret of this? I don't look muscular. And I'm nothing against the muscular body, it's fine. So what is it that keeps the body at the age of 70 healthy, supple, and ready to do what a person of 22 years might be doing? What is it? You're asking for a recipe. Yoga. I started at the age of 10. Apart from the meditative yoga, I'm talking about asanas. Age of 10. Till today. Except if I'm not well, I have fever, cold or traveling, I can't do asanas in a flight, for instance. But I keep practicing every day, at least for half an hour. What is the advantage? I'm telling it to you, that's the advantage. I don't partner physically. Mentally, alertness. Mind is alert. It can grasp what it needs to do very fast. In fact, people get very worried because when I go for a talk, I don't know what, just when I get off the car, I ask, what is the subject today? Today somebody almost had a heart attack. Because the mind, which is healthy, because the body is also, and calm and quiet and tranquil, can connect to any subject which it knows, of course. If you ask me about supersonic physics, I may not be able to tell you. What did you say? Your speciality? Remote sensing. And we also have some kind of remote sensing. But I will not be able to talk about the science, the physics of remote sensing. We have a way of remote sensing also. We believe that certain parts of what we call the psychic centers, when they are regenerated, you can sense something remote. And this was before remote sensing appeared on the scientific scene, without instruments. There are instruments, not physical. So physical body, mind, if these two can be handled, then you can go beyond, expand your horizons, increase your capacities, and yet don't live like an agitated human being, but a tranquil and quiet human. These are the advantages of yoga. So we discussed only 3 steps: yama, niyama, asana. After that comes pranayama, then there comes pratyahara, then there is dharana, dhyana. These are the steps. We don't have to go into that. So basically we are talking about yoga, physical yoga, for rejuvenation of body and mind. I think we are now limiting ourselves to that at the moment. So, if you rejuvenate your body and mind, and if you have learned how to calm your mind and make it tranquil and free from distractions, the rest will follow. You don't have to go too much into it, the rest will follow. Now the step after asana, the fourth step, is pranayama. So how important is pranayama? Don't think that pranayama is to do with breathing vigorously, which is good of course. Prana is not the breath. Prana is the life energy that works in our system as it works in other things in the world, not just the body. Now, fortunately for us, our breath is linked to the prana. So if you can bring your breath, shwasa, into a certain rhythm, you can learn how to adapt and use your prana according to your will and not haphazard. This is the science of prana. How do we test it? Everything needs a test, right? Now, this is one thing I want to tell you. In yoga, there is no point in theoretical discussion. The proof of the pudding is in the eating it. Well, I've changed this now. When I go abroad, I say, the proof of the idli is in the eating it. I say, what is an idli? It's a rice pudding. So, through practice of yoga, you can perfect your mind and body. Make it tranquil. Allow it to explore greater horizons and move forward. So, where is pranayama? Breathing techniques which are linked to the prana, like this. It's a very simple experiment. If you are very agitated, close your eyes and watch your breath for a second. You will figure out that your breathing patterns are also very agitated. When you are very calm, listening to music, something nice which you love, close your eyes and watch your breath. Discover that your breathing pattern is very quiet and slow. So the rishis, who are scientists in this field, said, if our moods affect our breath, is it possible to change our moods by altering the rhythm of the breathing? From this came this whole science of pranayama. Now there is a simple way of doing it. If you want to test it, sit down quietly in any place and close your eyes and simply watch your breath. You don't even have to control it. Simply be aware of it. It's very interesting. Even in the womb, the breathing starts for the fetus. And it goes on and on till we die. We don't say breathe. Do we ask the breath to breathe? It goes on by itself. You have no control over it. And when it stops, can you say start again? No, you are not there to say. They say in Gujarat, off ho gaya. God. So breath is such an important part. In my part of the country, Kerala is a pancharai. It means no air in the tire. Gone. Now this thing which is so important, you can live without food for a few days. You can live without water also for a few days. You cannot live without breath for more than a minute. It's such an important part. And yet, we don't give any attention to breath. We think, oh, it happens by itself, so let it go on. We are saying, give a little bit of respect and attention to the breath. And if you close your eyes, simple experiment, if you close your eyes, watch your breath, after some time, automatically, spontaneously, you'll feel like giving a deep sigh. Then your mind is calming down. Your breath is calming down, result, your mind is calming down. When your mind calms down, it's nice and peaceful and tranquil. Now, don't fall asleep. When the mind becomes quiet, it can do two things. Either it can fall asleep or it can go to an expanded state of consciousness. Two things can happen. So try to stick to this rather than that. But if you are suffering from sleeplessness, it's a good exercise. Lie down on your bed and watch your breath. Instead of gulping tablets, you might go to sleep. Because when the mind is calm, it either sleeps or goes to a higher level of consciousness. Now this is something which you can experiment every day. If you are very disturbed or excited, sit down quietly and watch your breath. In 5 minutes, you will find that your breathing has slowed down by watching. The breath behaves like quantum particles. You know that? From the Newtonian certainty to the uncertainty of quantum physics, we have come a long way. Those days we knew everything about science, physics. Now, scientists who have gone deep into it are not sure about it, which is the new discovery. It's called the theory of uncertainty. And what is the theory of uncertainty? The tiniest brick unit of matter, which are called quantum quarks. Nobody knows now whether they are particles or waves. This is where we stand. You think they are waves, and as you watch, which you observe, you find that they have become particles, acting like particles. You think they are particles, and you are observing, you find that they are behaving like waves. Nobody knows. In fact, some scientists have gone to the extent of saying that it probably depends on the observer. David Bohm was one of them. Not fully accepted, of course. He said the observer may be more important than the observed. Perhaps. In the same way, when you observe the breath calms down. You don't have to do anything. And when the breath calms down, then your mind is free of distractions. And when the mind is free of distractions, it expands to horizons which normally it will not be able to expand when it is distracted. This is the importance of pranayama. There are many kinds of pranayama. They are also meant to increase the flow of certain energies in your body and mind. There are different kinds of. So, in a nutshell, practice of yoga is for body and mind. It begins with the practice of bodily postures and change of lifestyle. And then from there you go on how to observe and explore the infinite potential in your mind, which appears to be finite but is not. And then in the end result, which is called samadhi yoga, is when you suddenly find that when the mind is no longer connected to one individual being, it's part of everything in this universe. This they call it. So, couple of things. You are in this institution which has 300 acres. You can actually go into this study very happily, like the ancient rishis who lived in forests. Where was all this taught in the ancient times? In the forest academies, ashramas. Why are they called ashramas? Because there are trees and greenery and water everywhere. You are equipped with that already. To dedicated students, dedicated teachers. Both are important in the practice of yoga. Healthy food. Today I went to the restaurant in ISKCON called Govinda. Very beautiful meal. Because you have to be careful, otherwise you won't overeat. So tasty. Very lovely meal. There is no onion, there is no garlic, there is nothing. But the meal is very nice, very tasty. No problem. So one should also change one's lifestyle. Try to eat simple food. You know, the more tasty the food is, sometimes you end up overeating. So watch out for what you do. Nothing is good when you overdo. A professor might like a student to crack jokes and ask questions, but when it becomes too much, what happens? So there is a limit to everything. moderation in everything. As far as externally, you can be a yogi without changing your robes. I'm not wearing anything special. In fact, I was thinking of wearing a pair of jeans and t-shirt. And I thought somebody might get shocked, like him. The external doesn't matter. Internal matters. This is the secret of yoga. You can live in this world and you can still practice yoga. And if you practice yoga, I am proof for it. It will improve your mind, improve your health, it will improve also kindness in your heart so that you are concerned about others. Compassion is a very important part of the practice. Right? Because when you practice yoga deeply, you see a divine spark in yourself. Now it can't be only yourself, it has to be everywhere, if you have found it or not. Therefore everyone becomes one. There is an inner spiritual equality. Not economically, you can never expect everything to be equal, it doesn't work. We have tried it for centuries. It doesn't work. But internal equality, that in essence we are the same, is the real equality that is possible. And yoga is a beautiful beginning and a step towards blossoming into that unity.